Good morning, Survivor Rites. It is a beautiful Sunday morning. I am coming to you from Northeast Washington, and our friend Pam here is coming to you from Hawaii. Welcome, Pam. Pam
Thank
Walton,
you.
everybody. Yes. So we're going to give just a couple seconds here for people to hop on. Because we have a lot of information that we are going to cover in a little bit of time. Hi, Diane. Good morning. Um, I love your earrings. Those are so cute.
Oh,
Hi,
thank you.
Tamari. Very cute. They look very islandy. What island do you live
Thanks.
on?
I'm on the Big Island.
Ah, nice. Good morning, everybody. It's Sunday morning, and we're just kind of hopping on here. We have a lot of information to cover today. But hi, Ron. So our show today is with the Queen of Lists. That's what Ron calls her. Pam Walton, everybody. I know, right?
Brothers, I tell you.
I know. So you have all seen the lists. You've seen all the things that she keeps track of, and I'm sure you know her name, but you may not know her as a person. So I really wanted to introduce her to all of you and for her to have a voice besides an Excel spreadsheet or whatever program it is you use. Because what you do is so important and it's making such a difference. And I know that it's a huge tool for Cynthia to be able to work off of as far as figuring out where people were and all that, but I'm going to have you answer all those questions. So, first of all of the information, warrior. Yes, you are a warrior. I'm going to go with that. Sarah's calling you that. You are definitely a warrior. I had lunch with Judy the other day, and she's the one that sends the letters to all of the places. I'm like, I get to talk to both of you in the same week, man. How lucky am I? So tell us a little bit about yourself and then how you got started into this incredible amount of documentation that you do, and how you keep all those records straight.
Well, I was born and raised going to meeting. I'm fourth generation on both sides of my family, my mom and my dad's. I'm also a survivor. Um, so I've lived in Hawaii for 33 years. And when all of this broke, I went into a tailspin because I thought I was the only one who experienced abuse. Well, I know I wasn't the only one because I knew I had family members who had. So it took me a while to digest everything. And then after about a year, after all the names started coming out and the workers started writing these letters, and really apologizing and, all this stuff, I got curious about how many of them, how many of the workers were actually abusing people. And so I decided I was going to start the first list of who was convicted because I had known growing up about Ruben Mata because I grew up in California. So I knew his name and I was curious if there was any more. So I started searching the net and I searched and I searched and I Googled and I searched and I found names and I was in shock. And then I found it from all the different countries. So I started creating my first spreadsheet from that information that I collected.
Wow.
And it blew up from there. It's blown up from that first initial spreadsheet.
It sure has. You and I talked about that convicted list the other day. Do you want to talk about that now?
Well, right now there are six. I don't even remember how many are on it. 80 something convicted ones. I think I just added another one that I got to post. And it shocked me because the first one I have found so far was from 1969, and it goes all the way up to 2024. And there's members and there's workers on that list.
Mm-hmm.
And it shocked me when I realized that that list was really long when people only say there's one bad apple in the bunch. And I'm like, when you've got that many names, it's more than one bad apple in the bunch.
Mm-hmm.
And so from that list, I decided I wanted to know how many of those people were, those convicted ones, might be going into meetings. And I have found that 91 individuals the workers have allowed back into meetings. Some are convicted, some have allegations. But the workers kept saying that they had zero tolerance. When we went out, when we heard all about all the listening tours and everything, they said they had zero tolerance for all of this. And when I started compiling and asking people if they went back, they don't have zero tolerance. They let them all back in.
Yes.
And so that really bothered me too, because I've always wanted to protect the kids because no one was there to protect me.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to be a voice and protect the children of today who are probably being abused right now.
Yeah.
So that was my second list, my second spreadsheet I put out. And then it really snowballed from there.
Yeah, it did. You're gonna probably be able to just go right on with this because we have gone through the questions, but I really wanted to start the show today with impact and on two levels. One, it's going on today. These are current people that have been convicted of sexual molestation, convicted in meeting in the world.
And they're
Okay?
registered sex offenders. And they're registered
Let's
sex
be
offenders.
very clear about that out of the gate. Okay. So, how many convictions? 80 plus convictions, Sarah, and 90 plus are in meetings, and that's between the convictions. And then if you add the ones who are also still in meeting that have had red boxes on them.
Yes.
That are so, and Cynthia has talked before about what it takes to get a red box, so we're not going to cover that today. Here's what I know, and here's what Pam knows for sure, because we know a lot about the process. A red box does not come out unless she's absolutely sure and willing to put that name out there. So,
and I don't do the red boxes. Cynthia does.
No, right.
So I just want everyone to be clear, because some people think I do them. I don't do them. I wait till Cynthia puts the names out, and then I run with those names and gather my information.
So Cynthia is a professional private investigator. This is what she does, what she has done. She does it for all kinds of institutions of trust in the world, from Boy Scouts to other churches, like huge. This is all she does. Okay. So I want to be very, very clear about that. So, I want to just, one of the questions I do want to ask you is the question about the first time you posted publicly about one of the cases. What was going through your mind? I want to know because so many people, well, just tell us.
I think the first list I posted was the conviction list. And I remember I always ask Cynthia if it's okay to post something. I always make sure I clear it with her first. And she gave me the okay. And when I put it out, I wasn't really worried because the workers don't scare me. I've been out of meetings for 30 years. They don't scare me. They can't tell me what to do. But I knew it would have an impact on some other people that around me. And and I was worried because you see all those names and it's a big impact.
Yes.
But I knew I had to do it because I knew that my next list was going to be the ones that were back in meeting. And I knew that that conviction list needed to go out first so people could see those ones that were convicted. And then to look at the names of the ones that went out who were back in meeting and realize that those names were also on that convicted list. Because that's important for people to be informed. Because if they're not informed, they can't make a decision for their family.
Right.
To either stay or to go. And the workers don't care. They're not going to inform anybody. They're not going to be transparent. So somebody had to be transparent. And it all stems back to me wanting to protect the children because I didn't have a voice and no one, protected me. And that's what my goal was, is to protect them. So maybe parents can make that informed decision. So it was scary, but I had to do it.
I'm so glad you
And
did. I'm so
I
proud of
did.
you. Oh, I have so loved getting to know you a little bit more, getting ready for the show. So tell us really quickly where all of these posts, all of these lists are posted so people can access them around the world at any time.
They are posted on Exposing Abuse 2x2 Facebook page. It's a public page, so people can either join or they can see it as a visitor. I do post it in the main thread, and then I also post them in the file tab. A lot of them are posted under the file tab in a PDF, so if people want to print them out, I have had people print them out and confront the workers with the list. Because it is powerful when you have a whole list of names and the workers can't quite deny those facts when you have it printed.
When you have a
So
list of
that's
actions,
where
yeah.
I post them. Yeah,
Awesome.
I'm an admin on there with the other admins, so it's the greatest spot to be able to expose the abuse.
Yes. And I did not know this before when we started this conversation, but you are related with Steve and also with Sherry Autry. So tell us a little bit about that, just so we can make the connection because we're two
Well,
by two. We like to know.
my mom and Steve's dad and Sherry's dad are siblings.
So you're all
So
cousins.
we're all cousins. Yes, we're first cousins. Yes.
Love it. So I understand why the documentation and record keeping is so important about accountability in a system like the 2x2s. I'm also very clear that when they deny actual convictions to your face, anybody's face that confronts them pretty much, here's what I have learned in my life, and is that when people are not truthful about little things and big things, that's such a huge red flag. So to just ignore this clear reality that is public knowledge, that anybody can take that list and research for themselves, find the information for themselves. It's just, I don't even have words for it. So I don't want to go down that road because it just irritates me to no end. And I get very irritated easily about this subject. But here's what I do want to
Down
know.
that road. I'll go down that road. I'll go down that
Okay.
road. It didn't take me long to find the information I found. So if anybody wants to find it, they can find it. They just need to have the will and the desire and the need to go find that information and be okay with reading that information, but they can find it. If I did, and I found a lot of it on my own, they can find it too.
Yeah,
So there's no excuse for people not knowing what's going on.
exactly. So you're the reason that they're now hiding their lists and their locations and their
I don't know, but maybe.
kudos to you, my friend. Kudos to you. Talk
Actually,
to me
I
for a
wish they
second.
didn't because I need those.
I know, right? Well, luckily, I know you have a lot of resources, and anybody that's out there, we're going to talk at the end about people reaching out to you and giving you
Yeah.
information. But talk to us for a second about what patterns that you've seen. I do want to go down all of the lists, like all the different things that you track.
You do.
I do.
Oh, well, back to the patterns. The patterns that I have seen is that a lot of the perpetrators, the alleged perpetrators, workers, have been moved to either Central or South America. That seems to be where they move them to. And they kind of move them around down there, and then they move them back, and then they move them back down there, So, and that area down there doesn't talk. So trying to get those people, the friends down there or the exes down there, to open up has been really hard. I am slowly having some reach out to me, so that's good. But that's one of the biggest patterns that I've seen. Another one is that when there is an allegation, they move them from state to state also. They just move them around, they just keep on shuffling them. And I've also noticed on a few that a couple perpetrators, one being a female, one being a male, they actually have kind of moved around within the same state and been on the same uh, lists in different states. So it makes me wonder who's protecting who, So a lot of those things. And if people look at that and really look at those lists, they can figure all that out too. You just got to be willing to find the information or be willing to accept the information that you see in front of you.
Yeah.
Because it's there.
It is there, and there's a lot of it.
Yep.
Okay. What all do you track?
Well, I track. I don't put all of my spreadsheets on because it's just so many. But the main ones I track. Cynthia and I work together with the perpetrator to disclosure date one. Her and I work together on that. That's the one that has like 259 names on it. And whenever a new box comes out, I then put the name on there and I add it to my list. And I have all these other spreadsheets. So I have spreadsheets that I can look at to make sure I verify everything. So that list of the 259 names, I want to bring something out to people that there are 259 names of perps that are disclosed on that list, some convicted, some alleged. To date, 193 of those names are still alive. Out of those 193 names, 91 names are taking part in some sort of meeting function, whether it's, any kind of church function. So that is 47% of those 193 names are in meetings around children.
Now, today. So let me just repeat. This is not an old problem. This is not something that happened a long time ago and is no longer happening. This is not something that we need to just be quiet and move forward from. This is a very, very real problem. And it is the reason that all of us get very upset because we look at the data, we know what the information is, and they just look the other way.
They lift that rug and they shove it under and they put it down. And I'm like, not on my watch. I'm going to lift that rug back up, bring that information out and shove it in their faces.
Good for you. I love you, love you, love you for what you do. And the way you do it. Like, I just, I don't feel like you do it spitefully. You just put it out there.
No,
it is
I don't. I do put it in people's faces because it's important. And and again, it goes back to protecting the children of today who are being abused, who 40 years from now, who are finally going to talk, because it took me a long time to finally be able to talk, to know that there were people out there who had this information, their parents had this information, and their parents chose to keep it from them.
Yes.
Those kids need to know that people were looking out for them and people were fighting for them.
Yes.
They need to know that. And stuff stays on the net, so it is going to be on the internet. They can find it.
And it's, I have a very close person to me that I care about deeply who his perp just died, but his parents still to this day, zero. They know what happened. They even agree that it happened, but they still have meeting in their homes, still let the workers come and go. It's just wild. Ron is saying that he feels like one of the patterns is that alleged people get put with alleged people.
There is that. Tell him to be quiet. No, there is that, because when you see, because I do timelines, I do the travel timelines. That's another.
We were still on that. So go ahead.
We're still on spreadsheets. So I do the travel timelines because that's important. to be able to know where these workers have traveled to and what conventions they've been in and where they've at. And if you look on my travel timelines, if there's another perp they have been with, I do put that name there because that is important. You've got perpetrators together. You've got perpetrators who've been together off and on for the years they've been in the work.
Yes.
So again, it goes back to covering. Who's covering for who? They're covering for each other.
They
You know
sure
they
are.
know what's going on. You know they
Oh, they
talk.
do.
You know.
Totally no.
So they're covering. And
Yes.
that's important also to bring out and to show.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sarah Mitchell is saying that, so then if you take all of those numbers, including the 91 people who are in meetings today, add to that the groomers who haven't reached the alleged abuse category yet.
And the ones we don't know about,
Right.
it's much
And so
higher.
then the next point that Ron is making, and I want, again, the risk to the congregation is actually greater than ever because the size of the congregation has shrunk
Shrinking. Yep.
dramatically.
Yep.
And as it shrinks, there's still all these perps. That just increases the percentage of chances.
And these are only the names of the ones that Cynthia has disclosed so far.
Right.
You know, it will
She's
go
got over
the numbers will
1,100
go.
names on that list.
Yeah, it will go. You know, the names will be. I mean, the percentage will be different when I redo it and see how it is when more names come out. And I keep track of all of that. And I will, excuse me, I'll be putting that out. You
Right.
know, so out of those 91 names that are in meeting, 25 of them 25 of them are convicted felons, and 66 of them have credible allegations. So you've got all these people in meeting waiting for their next victim. And people are okay with that? I'm not.
No. Here's what I'm going to say right now. Our show about the suicide crisis that's happening within the 2x2 church is this Wednesday. And I want anybody that's out there listening right now to know that this is why. There's a lot of other layers to it, but it is systemic, a culture of abuse on so many levels, and they just turn the other side. So this information, and then, yeah. Oh,
So those are the two spreadsheets that I do. And then I do to do my timelines. I've asked for people to send in workers list and workers photos, and I have got about 4 containers full of worker photos, personal or physical ones, and I've got a whole computer full of worker photos and lists and everything. And I go through them every time a new name comes out. I painstakingly go through each photo and look for the new perp's name in the year that they have been in the work on all of the photos across all of the states, all of the countries I have, both physical and on my computer. It is painstakingly, sometimes exhausting, but I got it down now where I only look at the years they were in the work, so I'm getting better at it. I have all my lists that I have to go through. It takes time. It takes time to do all that. And I work full time, so I only
that's what I was
have
just going to say.
Saturdays to do it.
I want also everyone to know. So back to between Steve Patton, Cynthia Lyles, myself, Sherry Autry, Steve Vanderrijn, everybody that's running all these sites, Natalie Bolin, Pathways to Healing, all of it. We're talking to you today. It's all volunteer. It is something that we all spend hours and hours, and you just give it. I mean, I told my husband that you're worse than a dog with a bone. You're like a fly on
I
a
am.
stick.
I am. I am. You
You
give
are.
me, and it's, if Cynthia's like, hey, what about this? And I'm like, let me work on a spreadsheet for that. And I will get a spreadsheet for her because that data that she wants is important. So I will
Yes.
go and search it and find it and tease it out and do what I need to do. And, and I'll have it ready because it needs to be out there.
Yes.
you
So what
know?
you're referencing is that you have pictures of these people that were at that convention at that time. So let's say there's a perp that's traveling around the country and somebody calls Cynthia and says that this person raped her, this worker raped her at convention. You can confirm that that person was in fact at that
At
convention.
that, if I have that photo, if I have that photo. If I
Right.
don't have that photo, you've probably have seen on the site, I've asked for different years of lists and
Yes.
different photos,
Yes.
and that is why, because I have someone asking for information and I don't have it, so I'm asking everybody else if they have it, that they can help me get it.
So let's
And
also
people
be
do.
Yeah, so I just want to make emphasize how important it is. If you ask for something, it's because you need it. So I would just want to encourage anybody out there
Yes.
that if you see a request from Pam, please go back. If there's any chance that you have photos or lists or anything, please go back and look at
And
that.
I would like to do a shout out to everybody who has sent me lists, who has sent me
Mhm.
photos over the last year and a half, 2 years. Thank you so much, because it has helped with all of this. I couldn't do it without the people helping me with those photos and those lists, sending them to me. I couldn't do it, and I have them coming in every day. I have people asking for my
Yeah,
address so they can send me stuff. And it helps.
yeah,
It helps. I need older lists though. I need those old lists that people don't have anymore, but those are what I'm
yeah.
searching for.
I'm going to actually go down. I have a tub. I have two different tubs, big, huge plastic tubs with letters and stuff that I have saved from my entire life. Anything that was suspicious, I have saved for 35 years. But I have my mom's Bible bag and a whole file that she kept of lists and poems. And so I'm going to go back down and look at that this afternoon, see if there's something
You
in there that
should.
I want.
You
Oh,
should.
guest book entries. Ron saying guest book. Yes, I
Yes,
have.
I do take guest book entries because that proves that they have stayed in members' homes.
Yes.
And so I have had people send me their guest books when they don't want them anymore. I have people
Mm,
take pictures of the pages and send it to me because it's just another documentation that
yes.
proves these guys move around, that these guys
And
do
in the
stay,
home.
men
They're
and women,
in the
in
home.
the home. They are in the home. So when they say, oh, we have the proof that says no, they are. So it's just another piece of documentation that helps down the road.
Outstanding. Okay, back to the list. What else do you keep track of?
Well, I track the media. So any news media articles that come out, I have a spreadsheet for that. So I keep track of that. Um, I am keeping track of any alleged perps who attend any conventions or gospel meetings or special meetings or any church functions.
Mhm.
I have a list for that, a spreadsheet for that, and then I put a list out. You've probably seen I put one out, I think yesterday, of the gospel meeting. And
Yep.
so I feel it's important to keep track of where they are and how often they go, because there's children present. And so if something comes up down the road, we can say, yep, they were at that gospel meeting. If someone says, hey, something happened here, we've got that documentation to be
Love
able
it.
to back that up down the road. I am a documentation queen in my career. I have to document everything. I am a teacher, and so I have to document everything. So documentation is in my blood. So it's something that comes natural to me. So, and I know how important it is when you need it down the road.
Yes.
So the documentation is it. I do also I keep track of any investigations or arrests that have been made or convictions. I have a spreadsheet that I have all the names of those on. So I track all those. So all the ones in court, I have that. I keep track of the court dates. So I can put out when the next court dates are and everything. So I keep track of all of that. And I have people giving me that information. A lot of the survivors will give me that information about the court dates. So, um, and then let's see. Oh, I am keeping track since Dean Brewer's death. I'm keeping track of current workers and former workers who have died, just to kind of see how many have died between there and if they have allegations or not. So I kind of have been keeping just for myself, but I've been kind of keeping track of that just to kind of see, you know, how that goes. Um, I do have a disclosure name spreadsheet that only I share with all the admins on our page. So we don't put a name out unless Cynthia has already put it out.
Right.
So I have a spreadsheet that I share with them. So all of the names that she has publicly put out go on there. So if they get a post, Steve does the post approval. So if he gets that, he can see if the name's on there, if we can post it or not, because we're really, really careful not to post names unless Cynthia has put it out or a survivor themselves has put it out. So we're just really careful on that. So I track that. And then the timelines. And then there's a few other just incidental stuff to help with my list that I do produce to put out. And then at the end of the year, I do a year-end update where I update all the different categories, if you will, or lists, kind of give a synopsis of it at the end of the year, so we can kind of see where we are through the year. Yeah.
That's impact, man. That what you do, so powerful.
So
So powerful.
between my spreadsheets, I have between 14 and about 25 spreadsheets that I keep track of. And my list, I have about between 10 to 15 lists that I put out. So yeah, it keeps me busy.
So again, I just want to say to the workers, to the overseers directly, I would like to clearly state, I'm going to let you say it because those words you deserve to say,
To say
that
what?
they should be paying attention. Like,
Oh,
don't even think we're not
yeah.
coming for you because we are.
Yeah, well, they should be paying attention, but we know they're not, so I'm not gonna fret about them.
Yeah, I know. I
My
don't
fret,
either anymore, sadly.
my concern is the children. That's
Me
my only
too.
concern. I
Me
don't
too.
care, you know, what the workers do or don't do at this point because they're going to do what they're going to do. I worry about the children.
Yes.
My whole career has been working with children,
Yes.
and I've always kept children safe. And it's like, these kids aren't safe.
Right.
It's about the children
Today, in meeting right now.
today, you know,
And
and that's why it's important. And then it's also important because the survivors of yesterday are also now finally having their voice heard by the names being out there, the lists being out there. They're being validated, even though they can't, if they don't feel they can talk yet or share their story, at least their story's getting out there somehow by
yes,
someone, and they can feel validated. That's
yes,
also important,
yes.
you know?
I have had someone in my life literally say, well, I'm not going to participate in anything that you're doing anymore, Crystal, because all you're doing is trial by social media. Well, I'm here to tell you, social justice is real. And if we can't get a conviction in the criminal system, we're going to come after them for social justice because I know and trust Cynthia 1000% that she doesn't put a name out unless it's true.
Yep. Yep.
So I just mm. Thank you for changing the power dynamic of what we're doing, how we shifting the structural foundation of what we know to be true. That is what you're doing, Pam. And it is maybe, I don't even know. Everybody has their piece, but it's so important. So important. Do you want to stay on the list for a second? Because otherwise,
No, we
um,
can move off of that.
okay.
There's
Um, I want to talk about the personal side of this because I really, you have a huge heart. You're a survivor yourself. And I know from my own experience, this can be triggering. And I know that what you do can be very emotionally heavy. So I want to talk about that for a second. First of all, I want to acknowledge you. I want to hold you up and lift you up and just tell you thank you from the bottom of all of our hearts. I'm going to speak for everybody out there that appreciates what you're doing. I know it's not easy. Talk to us for a second about how you deal with it and what that's like for you.
Well, let me start. As I said, I am a survivor. For those that don't know, I was abused by my father for 12 years, from the age of 4 to 16. Um, so this is very personal to me. Being able to have a voice is very personal. I didn't have a voice for many, many years until all of this busted loose. Then I found my voice. And I didn't have support around me for 30 years until all this busted loose. And then it took a while for my siblings and my mom and me to kind of work through this because we had never discussed my abuse. So we finally worked through it, and I have the support of my family, who you have my brother on there, and I'm sure my mom is on there too. I don't know my sister, she might be, but I have the support of them, and I have the support of my cousins. So I was able to find my voice. And it's important for me to be able to show other survivors that having your voice is very powerful and it's very healing. It's been very healing for me to be able to go up and do these or put these lists out and put the facts out when I have people in comments say, well, this is this and this. And I'm like, let me tell you the facts. And I can put the facts out there and it shuts down their comments because you can't argue with facts.
Nope.
You just can't.
Public information.
Yeah. And so being able to tell it has helped me come to terms with my abuse, actually. I'm okay with everything that happened to me now. I still have moments where I don't, but I'm okay. And going forward, it's just important to me. It's something I need to do for me and for others around me and for all the survivors and all the victims, to be able to tell them that it's okay to have a voice. It's okay. I used to do this 5-7 days a week. I'd come home after work and I would start in on it and do all the lists. I don't do that anymore. I only work on Saturdays with it. If I don't get anything done, on a Saturday and post anything, I wait till the next. I really have limited myself to doing it. It doesn't bother anymore seeing names. To me, they're just names. I can scan them really fast, so it doesn't bother me anymore. I know pretty much all the names by heart in my head, so I can just look for them and not have to worry. I don't think I could do this if I didn't have the support of my family at this point. They have helped me and given me the strength to be able to do the voice because they keep telling me to keep going. So I do. And I'm stubborn. I just my nature.
I'm so glad you do. Have there been really tough impacts? Like, was it harder in the beginning?
As when all this broke with Dean Brewer, I went into a horrible, horrible tailspin. I was angry. I was mad. I was frustrated. I had all the emotions. And it took me probably a good 5-6 months to come out of that spiral. And once I got out of it and I forgave myself for how the anger I was holding on to, I was able to go forward and be able to do what I do now. But it took a while.
Yeah.
And I had to live with those emotions and I had to live with those feelings.
Yeah. There's so much bondage on so many sides of it.
Well, it was because for 30 years I never talked about it with my family. I never got closure and confronted my dad or anything. So it was hard.
Yeah.
So it took a while for me to
moved away, long ways away.
I did. And I packed up when I was very young, in my early 20s, with 2 kids and a husband at the time, and moved over here. And I never moved back. And that ocean is what probably saved me from a lot of stuff and a lot of heartache. Sorry, Mom and siblings, but it did, because I was able to heal over here without having being around my dad, without having that always in my face. I was able to heal, actually, and that helped.
Healing is so powerful, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm so glad. Yeah. Thank you to everybody that supports you on a daily basis and to your family for being there for you. What would you say to anybody out there? What do you wish people understood about the effort and dedication that it takes to keep all of that? Everything that you do organized, everything, all of your own personal feelings intact, like all of it. It is a huge package. I want to know what you want all of us to know and understand.
It's very time consuming. Um, at times it's very frustrating because I don't have the information I'm looking for, especially if I do like a timeline on someone, or if Cynthia asks, hey, can you get a timeline on this person? And I don't have any photos of that person or anything, you know, I can't do it. And I get frustrated that way because I want to be able to put those timelines out and I can't. So I get frustrated and then I kind of stop what I'm doing for a bit and just give myself a break and then come back to it later. But it's very time consuming. And I think a lot of people have challenged me. Well, not a lot, but there's been a few people that have challenged me when I've put stuff out. And that can get rather discouraging. But I know I have the backup of some people who are like, you just keep doing what you're doing and you just keep putting those lists out. And, you know, and I do, but I I'm a very strong-willed person. I'm very stubborn and I'm very determined. So I'm going to continue doing what I do. And I'm
Mhm.
going to continue doing these lists till I have no more breath in me.
Right.
So people can come at me and people can be whatever, but it is exhausting. It's
Yeah.
very exhausting, you know, but I won't
Um,
stop.
right. I had a therapist say to me, uh, that church does not realize yet the incredibly strong women it's creating.
And it's surprising because of the way the women had to be, and yet it's the strong women who are coming out being like, hey, not on our watch,
Yep.
and not on my watch,
Mhm.
you know. So, and I hope that there are workers on our page that are lurking and they see it. And I really hope they're shaking in their boots, wondering what's going to come next, or if their name's going to be on a list next. I really hope because, yeah,
It's not personal anymore at this point. It is what it is. You want to be a cockroach? We're going to shine the light on you and you can run
well,
and hide
and
all you'd like.
it didn't have to come to this
No, it did
if
not.
they would have just not let any of those perpetrators and convicted perpetrators back into meeting. If they would have done what they said and said no tolerance, cleaned it up, got it back, none of this would be happening. We wouldn't be where we are today
Nope.
having to expose everything because they're not doing their job
Right.
to keep their members safe.
Exactly.
That's their job. They're the
It's that
ministers.
simple.
They should be doing that, but they're not.
Right. And you know what? That's on them
It is on them.
for now and for eternity. So I don't worry about it anymore. For a long time, I worried about, you know, how's this going to affect people that I love and how it doesn't matter. It's not on me.
Everybody makes their own choices.
Yep.
And, I personally don't care if someone stays or goes. That doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
That's not my
Me neither.
decision. So if I give information out and people look at it and they make that decision for their family, then more power to it.
Right.
But I don't tell people what they need to do because it's not my decision. I just
Exactly.
want the information out there so people can make informed decisions for their
Exactly.
families.
That is the goal. Safety and accountability. Those things go hand in hand. And they refuse to do either one. So,
Yep.
I don't even know. So my next question is kind of in line with all of this. We're moving on to courage and accountability and the systems that have historically relied on silence. What role do you think this truth telling is going to play? I love where you're at, what you're doing. I cannot wait to see what's going to happen 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the road. Um, and why do you feel like that what you're doing now is really going to change the outcome for people down the road?
Well, I think for one, it will shine light on all of this dirty, dirty stuff under the rug.
Yeah,
They can't hide it anymore, because if they want to hide it, I'm going to try to find it and uncover it,
yeah,
because I'm, like you said, fly on shit, and I'm just going to go after it. Um, so shining that light on it, they can't really hide it anymore.
right.
They can try, but they can't. Also, I think it will give survivors and victims and survivors the ability to be able to realize that they can speak up.
Mhm.
They can go against the workers. They can say their truth about what the workers are doing and
Yes,
survive it.
yes,
The workers are not going to do anything. They aren't going to come at me, because they know they have nothing to stand on. When you fight them with truth and facts about what they're doing, they don't have a leg to stand on.
yep.
I've not had one worker, not one overseer, contact me to tell me to stop what I'm doing. Not one. And I'm waiting, bring it on, because I have some facts for them,
I
but I
say it all the
haven't.
time. When we shine a
But
light into a kitchen full of cockroaches, they run. And that's exactly what they're doing.
yeah,
And, eventually they're going to get tired or what. I don't even know. Don't care at this point.
yeah. And it also makes folks accountable for their own actions, whether it
Yes.
be families leaving leaving meetings, or families staying in meetings, accountable for them to have to tell their children down the road why they made the choice they made, if their children have all this information, and confront them.
Right.
It just kind of gives people the power to be able to fight back
Yep.
with facts. And facts are more
Mhm.
powerful than anything.
Yep.
And that's why I only deal with the facts. I don't
Yeah.
deal with rumors or speculations. If it's not a fact, I don't want to hear it.
Yep.
You know?
So what would you say to somebody that's just now realizing what happened to them and that it was abuse? I know a lot of people reach out to me and say, I have every symptom of somebody that's been abused. I feel like am a victim somewhere, but my mind has not realized it yet, or something like I just can't move forward from this. And I feel so stuck in so much anxiety. What would you say to those people and also the ones who haven't been able to find their voice yet and come forward? What would you want them to know?
First thing I would tell them is to be kind to themselves.
Yes.
Just be kind to yourself, and to sit with all of those emotions. Don't try to figure them out right now. Just sit with them and be okay with that, and let your body go through those emotions. Healing takes time. There's no time frame on it. There's no time limit on it. There's no one way to heal. We all heal differently. We all come to terms with everything differently. It's messy. It's horrible. But just sit with it and
Mm,
just be kind to yourself, because that's the best thing you can do,
yeah.
is to be kind, and find someone that you can talk to that will just sit with you and listen. I've had so many survivors send me messages, and they don't want me to say anything to them. They just want me to listen.
Yep.
And I just lit, and they're, telling me stuff, and it's, they're ranting, and they're, and I just listen.
Yeah.
That's all I ever wanted, was someone to just listen,
Yeah.
you know, and not say anything, you know. I think so many times we get a lot of people who think that a survivor needs to be fixed. We don't need to be
Mm,
fixed.
no.
We just need some compassion, some empathy, and a listening ear.
Yeah.
That's all.
So I really want to say too, there's, it's not just us. There's a lot of people out there that love survivors, and there's mentors, people who have been trained now inside through Pathways to Healing, people who are going through training now. There's so many resources out there. If you are someone listening and you do feel like that you need to reach out, or you're getting ready to reach out, or you would like to reach out, I just want you to know that there's so much love on this side, and there's so much support and so many resources out there. And I really just, um, yeah,
And my DMs are always open.
mine too.
They're always available.
Yep. Okay, so yeah, I think we're working on answering all that. If you have anything you want to say about these, we worked on our questions ahead of time, everybody, because this is a lot of information to get through. So, what would you like to say as we look forward, and what gives you hope as we look to the future?
What gives me hope is that things are being exposed finally. After generation of the workers hushing things up and keeping things under the rug, it's finally being exposed.
Yes.
That gives me hope. They can't hide much anymore.
Nope.
It also gives me hope that more survivors are finding their voices and using their voices. And that makes them stronger, and you can tell in their voices how strong they're becoming. That gives me hope. It gives me hope that many people have walked away from meeting, knowing that they want to keep their families and their children safe. That gives me a lot of hope. Yeah, those three things are what really keeps me going.
I love that. So if somebody out there if wanted to help you, and or here's my other thought on this. You track primarily sexual abuse on lots of ways. Here's what has come to be so horrific in what I do every day. It's the domestic violence. It's all of the other abuses that are going on inside this church and kept silent. If somebody wanted to start working on something like that and start tracking stuff like that, that's a two-pronged question. I want to know how they could help you, and then I want to know how they might get started on starting to uncover all these other things, or help people get the support, or just keep track of how many. I mean, our suicide show this week is going to be eye-opening to a lot of people about a lot of things besides just sexual abuse. It's devastating. It's horrific. It's appalling. But it needs to be done. The light just needs to keep getting brighter. So, how can we support you?
Send me your list and your photos now. If you don't want them anymore, and you're just going to toss them, please send me a DM. You can mail them to me. I have so many people who just put them in the mail and mail them to me. Even you don't have to go through them. Just stick everything in there. I take lists, workers lists. I take worker photos. I take guest books. I take convention notes. I take letters that people have written, because it will show sometimes where the workers are if you get a letter. Anything that you want to get rid of. I don't share it with anybody. I keep it in my personal over there. And I never share where I get my stuff from. So all that is confidential. Is my internet gone?
Nope, you're still there.
Okay, because it says it's trying to connect. So reach out to me. You can either scan them in and send them to me that way, or you can mail them to me. That is so important for me to have to continue doing what I'm doing. And they are getting harder to get because the workers are getting sneakier, and they're not giving the list out quite so quick or anything. The reason why these lists are so important and why the timelines are so important is because The list could be huge for someone's criminal and or civil case. The lists are evidence that can be used by law enforcement and attorneys. So if they're going to be, investigating someone, they can ask for me for these lists, because then it can prove where these people are. I've had survivors ask me to do timelines for their perpetrator so they can send it to their law enforcement person they're working with. It's so important for these cases that we have this information, but I can't do anything if I don't have it. So I really, really appreciate those who have sent that to me,
Around
because
the
that's
world,
important.
everybody. I just want to also be
Around
clear.
the world.
Around the
Don't,
world. I didn't really make that
yes,
point out of the gate, but I do want to make that very, very clear. You do
around
this
the world,
all over the world. Yeah,
all over, because
I do.
it's very important. If we're
Yeah,
trying to get some convictions or trying to get cases open, that's going to help. We
yeah.
need that if people want to go forward.
That's the other point that I wanted to make sure people are aware of. One of the reasons that a lot of things don't go into conviction or even get law enforcement to take the case is because there's not enough evidence. And this, what you're doing is compiling evidence. And so that's what a lot of people don't understand. A lot of people are like, why aren't we having more convictions? Why aren't people going to jail? We hear that all the time. This is why, because getting the statute of limitations runs out, but B, getting the information and having the evidence to prove cases, especially the older ones, these newer ones that are coming out, I'm hoping that that timeline shortens a little bit for the people who are being abused now or have been abused recently,
Mm-hmm.
because there are still way too many people that are alive and still in the work, still traveling around, still in people's homes, still having companions that they are doing horrible things to. So before I give you last word, I'm going to just ask if anybody out there has questions that you guys want to ask Pam.
Oh,
Because,
wait! I never answered the second part of that.
oh yeah,
You got a two. So if
you did.
someone wants to start something on another, like domestic violence or whatever, um, you can either reach out to me and I can just help them with that,
Okay.
and kind of let them know. You can put it out there that that's what you're doing with people, and maybe people would send information. Um, so it's just something that, I think if the people know about, they might be willing to talk about, because I think it is important to
It
talk
is.
about, the domestic, the emotional. I went through our household was a lot of emotional abuse at the
Mhm.
hands of our dad. So,
Right.
it's something that needs to be talked about.
Right.
It's something that needs to be
Very much.
addressed. Okay.
So reach out
So,
to you. And that's, my point on that. I got very vocal this last year when Mr. Nader, who is in jail now for, had just gone to Post Falls Convention in Idaho, has been dealing with schizophrenia for years and years and years. And this is the problem. This is why I'm such an advocate about mental health and why the workers need to understand. They think they just know, oh, God will tell me about. You do not understand how the mind of a schizophrenic person works if you do not have the knowledge, the true knowledge of what is going on. He walked out of convention, 3 days later, murdered 4 people. Like, that man was at convention with people, and I still am in touch with his daughters. It's and what they went through and dealt with for years. No support, no backup, just people. Oh, well, he's professing, so he's going to be okay. No, he's schizophrenic and really needs a lot of support and reinforcement around him. Like, we're not shaming him. We just need to help him. We need to help
yeah.
him so he has the support that he needs. That's like, if a perp wants to repent, they have to have a support system. They have to have people who are going to hold them accountable and not let them be in meeting with a 2-year-old squirming little girl.
But again, the workers say if they repent, they can still go back into meeting. And no,
It's
I don't
not
think
because
so.
they
They
don't
should
understand.
never, ever be in
Again,
meeting
they don't
whatsoever.
understand the mind of a perpetrator. We are going to be on April Fool's Day
Ever.
on purpose on April Fool's Day, again
And
with Denise Doucette.
I want to bring up something. People say, "Well, I watch my kids very closely. It'll never happen to my kids." Let me tell those people. My father abused me when my mother was in the room. My father abused me in a swimming pool when the whole family was in the damn pool. It's going to happen, and you're not going to stop it because they are slick and they know what they're doing. So if you think you can protect your child when a
Yes.
perpetrator is wanting to get at them, think again.
Yes.
It's not going to happen. They're going to get your child, and there's nothing you're going to do about it. They're
Yes.
that slick.
Here's the other thing that I want to say before we go. I know I'm not getting any questions, but you are going to get last word here in a second. But the other thing that has really come to my attention for the number of people who have reached out to me lately is the whole incest piece. And you're part of it. Incest within this, it's not just about the perps that are coming to meeting and out there. It is a ripe system. And because of the silencing and so many of the other mind control things, incest, it's just now really coming to my awareness how rampant it is.
Well, and we talk a lot about the workers abusing people, but we haven't really talked about family members.
Exactly. That's what I was getting to.
Who have abused
the
children.
So,
you know?
Yeah. We're going to be doing, we're out of time for today, but I can tell you that is on my radar. This next Wednesday show is the suicide crisis within the 2x2 church with Dr. Natalie Bolin and Cynthia Lyles. Next Sunday is going to be your cousin, Steve Vandermeiden. We'll be back on talking about communication skills and learning how to deal with all of that. And the following Wednesday on Unbroken will be Natalie Bolin again with a therapist on a show called Therapy 101. So, we're going to then be addressing the incest issue after that. So, thank you, Pam. I'm going to give you last word.
I just want to say thank you to everybody who has supported me in my journey and who has been supporting me on this new journey of exposing the abuse. Please keep your children safe and think about what everything you have read in all the lists and seen all the lists, all the stats, and just think about it, how your children will feel if they're abused and you haven't done anything about it to keep them safe. Think of your children first.
Yes. I cannot thank you enough. I cannot say it enough times. I cannot be loud enough. We're going to talk to you again because this is just the beginning. There's even narrowing it down today was really hard to just, I feel like we're just talked about the tip of the iceberg, even though it was still a lot of information for people out there who don't know what you do. So I just want to be clear that there's no slowing down. Pam is not going to stop. Okay. If anybody had any question for that. So thank you. Thank you for putting it out there. Keep an eye on Exposing Abuse. We partner with them. I want very much for people to follow that, look at those lists, download those lists, print those lists out. Again, it's, I say it every week. I used to think it was going to take a village. Now I know it's going to take an army, and that's what we're all doing, is getting the information out there and getting that light shining as bright as we possibly can. So thank you again. Everybody have an amazing Sunday. And thank you for being here, whether you're watching today or watching later. We appreciate your viewership, and mostly we appreciate your support and just love as we build community together. So have an amazing day, everybody. And
aloha, everyone.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Love that. Okay, 1 sec. I'm going to take us off live.